Hello, this is Nolan Schmidt, Vice Chair of the Libertarian Party of Guadalupe County. I'm here on the Libertarian Party of Guadalupe County YouTube page and Facebook page, as well as interview for Seguin Gazette. I'm here with Spike Cohen. Spike, I'm glad that you're here. You ran in 2020 as the vice presidential nominee candidate for vice president. You also were the founder and president of You Are the Power.
Yep.
So with years of advocacy and everything else, ever since running for vice president, you founded the You Are the Power. Do you think you could explain to the folks what You Are the Power is about?
Yeah, absolutely. So at You Are the Power, we help people who are being abused by local government. And that can look out like all sorts of different things. It can look like someone who's being wrongfully arrested for something that body cam footage proves that they didn't do, and so the city's refusing to release the body cam footage. It can look like people who are having their homes or their businesses stolen from them by their local government, who's utilizing abuse of eminent domain or bad zoning laws to be able to take people's property from them to use for whatever they want to use it for. It can look like people having their children stolen from them because they're being wrongfully accused of abuse. And all of the evidence shows that the government's in the wrong and that the people that they're harming are in the right. And the government just gets away with doing these things because usually no one's paying attention. And what we do is we get involved, we get the public to understand what's happening, we give them a direct call to action to contact these specific officials who are doing that harm, and then and to basically tell them to back off and do the right thing. That has had a 100% success rate for the last nearly 3 years.
Wow. Yeah, because I've seen through your social media, as well as social media for You're the Power, that there has been a lot of success stories for the past couple of years and everything. With that, was there like for any continued plans for You're the Power to? Because I know with there are still cases out there of government abuse, especially towards families and everything else.
Yeah.
Also, along with that, you've also been interviewed on different big news channels and everything else, and shows and stuff, especially advocating on the libertarian standpoint.
Yeah.
I know that one of the biggest things when you were running for vice president was the fact that someone young on the especially someone of my generation on the ticket and everything else. And I know that right now with there's especially in these times, there's always that there's still like in people my generation, even younger, might not know what libertarianism is and advocating for liberty and stuff. Was there like anything that any advice for like, especially for like the younger generation, especially like our generation and younger generation that's getting close to voting age?
Yeah.
That on spreading the word of liberty, and especially any messages against like government abuse from either officials or even like law enforcement and everything else?
Yeah, so I would say the way that I boil down libertarianism, and I think it's a useful way to talk about it and it's a useful way to spread it, I boil it down and distill it down as much as I can to what I call the principle of human respect, and which is basically when we are respected and treated like individual human beings, our lives are better in every way. We're happier, we're more prosperous, we're more free, and everything else. But when we're not treated that way, when we're not treated like human beings, when we're treated like a political opportunity or tax cattle or something like that, when our lives and our rights and our property are violated, we're always worse off every single time. And so if we allow that to happen, if we don't call it out and demand that we be respected as human beings, we're all going to be worse off, even if it's the government doing it. And I would say actually, especially if it's the government doing it, because if I were to rob you or to take something from you, well, I'm one person doing it to one other person, and the public is going to just about universally agree that that was wrong. and support making sure that I'm brought to justice for that. But if I act as a politician and do the exact same thing, not just to you, but to everyone under my presumed jurisdiction, I've just done something that's exponentially more harmful and harder to actually hold me accountable for. And much of the public thinks, even if they don't agree with how I did it, they think that that's government policy. And so I think what we do as libertarians is we boil it down and say, theft is always wrong. Extortion is always wrong. Kidnapping is always wrong. Violating someone's lives and rights and property is always wrong. Treating someone like something less than a human is always wrong, and we should demand that the government never do it to us. So that's the message that I put out there. It's what we do at You Are the Power. Ultimately, all of the stories of the families that are being affected and that we're helping, the underlying message is, if these people had been treated like human beings, it never would have happened. And so what I would say to anyone of any age, especially younger people, when you're talking about it, distill it down to the people that it's actually affecting. Libertarians tend to be a little bit more cerebral. We tend to think about ideas more so than people, but the vast majority of people tend to think more about people than about ideas. Some people rarely ever even think about ideas, they just think about people. So if we distill our ideas down and point them to actual people who are being affected, and tell the story of those people, and then bring it back to the policies that are affecting them and the underlying principle behind why it happened, I think we're going to do a lot better in actually spreading our ideas, because we're dealing with the objection that people have, which is, well, how does this affect people?
Well, before I end off this interview and everything else, I know, especially with at the Libertarian Party of Guadalupe County, we've been very supportive of our message, especially since a lot of us at LP Guadalupe have been big. Pretty much, we've been following you and a lot of the other voices of liberty and out there. And especially for those that might be watching this, are those that, especially since I'm also currently also writing a column for the local paper,
That's
the
awesome,
Seguin
yeah.
Gazette. Do you have any words for those in Guadalupe County, especially about supporting the message of liberty or anything?
Yeah, so I would say, the first thing I'd say is, if you want to get involved in spreading liberty, there's multiple things you can do. The first thing you can do is join You Are the Power. If you go to youarethepower.net, you can be at the tip of the spear of all the work that we're doing. We are on the front lines, finding people who are having their lives ruined by local governments, and specific instances, not just the people having their lives ruined, but specific incidences of it, and actually getting people to get involved in stopping it. Like I said, we've had a 100% success rate. Another thing you can do is join the Libertarian Party of Guadalupe County, the Libertarian Party of Texas, Libertarian Party of the National Libertarian Party. That's the Libertarian Party is doing at the electoral level. They're spreading liberty through elections and through the messaging behind those elections and campaigns. You Are the Power is a 501c3. We aren't directly involved in any campaigns or political parties or anything like that. We're involved in spreading liberty through changing the culture by getting people involved in understanding the effects of not being respected as human beings. So that's what we do. So there's no reason to have to choose between those things. You can get involved in the Libertarian Party. You can get involved in You Are the Power. You can get involved in just being involved in your local community. And so I think the biggest takeaway I would give is, find what, especially if you're doing volunteering, find what you believe is going to be the most fulfilling for you that you can do sustainably, because burnout is very real. Like, you can get involved in something and support it 100%, and you're doing things that don't necessarily feel like something you'd want to do long term, but you'll do it, you'll stick it out for now and do it as much as you can, and then very quickly you realize you're burning every end of the candle. And sometimes what happens is, you burn out, you stop, and it's hard to come back, and you've burned yourself out from wanting to be involved at all. And so what I'd encourage you to do is to find something that you can do sustainably long term, and to set limits for yourself, to say, I'm only going to do this up to this point, because it would be better for you to take a break from it or take a hiatus from it and then come back to it, than to just burn yourself out one time and never want to come back because it was too much to have to deal with. So those are the things I would say.
Thank you so much, Spike,
Absolutely,
for doing
man.
this.
Yeah, thank you.
Really appreciate it. And thank you for watching the video. And if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Also, please make sure to follow the Libertarian Party of Guadalupe County on Facebook, as well as the Libertarian Party of Texas as well, and the National Libertarian Party. And this has been Nolan Schmidt, Vice Chair of the Libertarian Party of Guadalupe County, signing out.
Bye, guys.